Women, we are, as a matter of fact, how to build boundaries with your children and their stepfather. And women, you know that we have superpowers. Like if a woman truly wants her marriage to work, it will work. And that's a true story, no matter the circumstances. If a woman truly wants her marriage to work, it will work. It is except the woman does not even want to that marriage to work anymore. Then she just says, okay, you know what, I give up. I understand some men are from, other planet that, even after a lot of trials, they still make you feel miserable that you just tell yourself, what am I even really doing? However, the way God created us women, we have superpowers on our own that we just make things work. We know what building a home is like, and what it takes to actually fix a home and make it really happen for us. Okay, now back to what we're saying, building the boundaries between our children and their stepfathers. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't bring your children into your current marriage. However, I always advise that if you want to bring them into your current marriage, ensure they're children, they're probably young kids. Or maybe you're marrying somebody whom you know that even when you guys are married and your kids are like in the 20s and all that, and they're not married and they're still with you and they're still your responsibility, which of course is not. Because in the world that we live in, once they are 18, 19, 20, they already started finding their square. They're already independent because that's the world we live in right here in the United States. However, in Africa it's a different thing. But if you know you are actually going in and you've got grown-up kids, I always say this, build a boundary. It doesn't matter how caring the man is. It doesn't matter how loving the man is. Because sometimes there's always a flip, especially if the man himself too has his own kids. And, you guys, and because why I'm talking to women is that, let me go back. Why I'm talking to women is that, again, women, you guys can undo and manage something, but men can't. Always understand that when a man is coming in with his kids too, his kids always feel some type of way, especially maybe some kids that are not well brought up, or some kids that just think that anyone that comes around their father is coming for something. Some kids are actually brought up that way. Same thing applicable to women too. Some kids too are not well brought up that they would rather have their mother, being single because they think that they can manipulate their mother better when she's single. But when she's married, they no longer can manipulate their mother because they feel that the man is actually in control of their mother now, and their mother probably listens to the man. You see where the flaws are coming in from both ends of the party. Now, how do you manage this? If you ask me genuinely, I'll tell you this, which is what I tell women. If you know your kids are grown, there's really no need for you bringing them in there. And that's the truth. But if you have to bring them in there, build a boundary. Let them know that that is your husband. Your husband's space is your husband's space. And let your husband know that your children's space is their space. And that your children are no competition with him. There's no competition here. And then let your kids especially know that there's no competition. Don't worry, he's your father. See him as your father figure. It doesn't matter. So that there'll be boundaries, so that there won't be issues much later. And I pray that men to understand this, because a lot of men don't really understand this. Oftentimes, you find out that there's always issues from the man's side. It is except the woman has wisdom, which I always tell women, pray for wisdom, ask for knowledge, ask God to give you wisdom, ask God to give you knowledge to be able to, to be able to, manage a relationship like that where it is extended, where you have people, where you have your husband already married, where you have already your husband already got his kids that probably same age as your kids too. Understand that there'll always be a conflict because a little bit of competition will be there. So you as a woman, it is your power, that is when your power comes in, your spiritual power comes in to handle it with pure wisdom, and knowing that you're not segregating anyone, you're not thinking anybody is special, telling yourself that, look, they're both our kids and we just need to work together and love them equally. However, we know it's not easy, but then you ask God too to always come in. Whatever you put God, you will never go wrong with it. And that's the truth. However, all you need to do is work with your husband. Make sure you are on the same pace with your husband. Understand that sometimes men can be the weaker link, you understand? But then be on the same pace with him to be able to work it out with, both kids and all that. And then ensure that that boundary is there with both parties. You put a boundaries for your kids over your husband, and then for his kids to over you. You have to make it work. The power is in your hand as a woman to make that work. And that's a fact. But if you know they are grown and you think it is not worth it, you know your kids better. And that's a fact. The best bet I always tell women is that just leave them in your house where you used to stay before or something. So that, nothing, your kids won't be called out on anything, your kids won't be asked about anything or whatever. You guys, they will still love their stepfather, but it's just that the boundaries that the respect is there. Because some families, the way it becomes chaotic after a while, you just see everything go south because you guys can manage both. You can manage, your kids. But one of the best ways to do it is standing on the same page with your husband and letting your kids, both of you, know that you guys are on the same page. And no matter what they try to bring in, you guys are together and nobody can actually come in between both of you. It's very important to let your kids know this and put that respect there, that both parties, kids have to respect both of you. It's really, really important. Ladies, I believe I've said enough about bringing your kids into your marriage. Until next time, I remain your girl, Patricia.